Thanks for staying with us. So we have our sponsor segment here with ARM Pensions. We have the client representative for ARM Pensions to tell us more about the company and what they're up to. So welcome with us, Abimbola Suleiman in the building. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So good to have you. So tell us about the pension scheme. We always talk about pensions. In fact, Mike just took a story about the fact that many of our politicians, many of them are leaving office with jumbo pension plans, that have been authorized by the respective House of Assemblies. But the normal people, regular people, sometimes have to wait for years to get pension. So tell us about pension scheme. Does it really work in Nigeria?
Yes, indeed. So the contributory pension scheme, which ARM Pensions is one of the leading operators, the Pension Reform Act was signed in 2004 during the regime of President Obasanjo. And prior to 2004, all of what you describe is what, we're used to seeing, just grief, because what we had was a defined benefit pension scheme for government workers. In the private sector, pensions were largely non-existent. And with government workers, they would struggle after retirement because there was really no funding put aside. Government employees, you say, don't worry, I'll pay you for 30 years, and then you show up and they're like, oh, wait a minute, where's the money? And so in 2004, this act was put in place to transition us from the old defined benefit pension scheme to a contributory scheme that is managed outside of the government. So what you have today is employees are contributing to a scheme, your employer is contributing as well, and it's managed by an independent industry, highly regulated companies like ARM Pensions. You have a National Pension Commission that oversees the entire thing. So since 2004, we've seen very great strides. I think the success of the scheme is the fact that now in the public sector, you get your pensions. It's outside of government. You don't have to go to any government office to queue. That story of people crying is largely a thing of the past. And in the organized private sector as well, we've had so much progress. Many are included in the scheme. I think where we still have a lot to do is the fact that coverage is still very low. The way the scheme is designed for 9-to-5 office workers. But as we know, the vast majority of the working population in Nigeria are actually not 9-to-5. It's informal. Entrepreneurs, it's informal, it's the gig economy, it's self-employed. And so today in the scheme, we have, I think, just close to 10 million contributors. With our population, we're only just scratching the surface. So real progress will be when you have the vast majority of people working, regardless of whether they're in an office or not, covered by this scheme.
All right. Yes. I'm going to ask you outside the box. A private firm, like I run a private firm, if I wanted to join the ARM pension, how would I join, and what would we have to pay? I would pay for my staff.
Right. So the law says that any organization that employs at least 3 people should register in the scheme. You don't pay anything. You go to your PFA. This is the name of my company. I'm registering as an employer. Each of your employees would have to open their own pension savings account. It's called the retirement savings account. The employer is not mandating what the employee should do. The employee decides, I want to be with ARM Pensions or ABCDEF Pensions. They open an account just the same way when your employee comes to work for you. They say, this is my bank account. You pay the salary into that account. They should tell you that this is my pension account, and then you make the contributions into their pension account. The law says that each employee should contribute a minimum of 18% of their annual salary. The employer is contributing 10%, the employee is contributing 8%. So I contribute for myself, my employer matches, it goes into that pension account, your PFA manages the money for you, saves it.
So what if, when the time for pension comes, we look for ARM pension, they don't disappear?
But you see, ARM Pensions has been around
It doesn't, I'm talking 20 years from now.
We've been around over 20 years. Many of the operators are very highly regulated. These are companies that have long track record of operating in the financial services scheme. The pension scheme started in 2004. Prior to 2004, we were in investment management, managing people's wealth for them outside of the scheme. So we've got a very long track record. Our regulator is on top of it. The National Pension Commission is one that doesn't play around. And so you can be rest assured that if you're within the scheme, these operators are in it for the long haul and will be around.
So when you're choosing a PEFA, what are the things that a person should consider to make that choice?
I think she has told you exactly what it is. It's longevity.
Okay.
You're looking for trust. You're looking for safety. At the end of the day, this is just another financial investment you have. What do you think about when you're opening a bank account or making any investment? Is this a partner I trust? Are they reliable? Are they ethical? You know, can they provide the service that they promise? You know, do you have ease of access? If I have a problem, you know, when you retire, why should you come and look for ARM, right? We're in the digital world. Download our app, make the request, I'm retired, this is my bank account number, please pay my pension into this account. You don't even have to come to us anymore. So are they providing you that ease of service? If you want to retire, you know, in the Caribbean, you should feel free to do that and your money should, you know, come to you wherever you
Mike
are.
is close to that area, so it's really concerned.
Yeah. I'm
You're
60.
closer. No, you're 62. Please. 62. You're going to be 63 in a few... Mike, you're going to be 63 in a few days.
Next year.
Next year, oh, sorry. I mixed it up, sorry. Next year.
Don't mind that. She wants to give me the age that is not mine.
So
I'm not going to...
yeah. So I'm concerned about voluntary additional contributions. What do you think about that? If you have to add that to your
initiative. Remember, I told you the regulation says that you should contribute a minimum of 10% from the employer, 8% from the employee. All you're doing is putting money away for your retirement. The more you put away, the more you're going to have available when that time comes. So the law allows for you to say, you know what, I want to save more than this 18%. I'm willing to do more. And so that's what additional voluntary contributions are. It's contributors to the scheme saying, I want to contribute more than the minimum required by the regulation. And all you would need to do is just tell your PFA as well. We're a phone call away, we're a chat bot away on WhatsApp. You know, I want to increase my contributions from X to Y. And then that money gets put away, it's working for you, it's invested, and then you have more in your pot when you're 60.
So there was this transfer windows that was open for people to change pensions. And now people are now ranked based on their performances. But how does that affect the scheme when you have to keep changing and swapping?
You don't have to keep changing, and you shouldn't do that. The transfer window, what it is that when the scheme started, remember I told you 2004, it was new. We were trying to make sure that everything was safe. And so you opened the pension account, and that was supposed to be your pension account for life. So if you chose ARM pensions in 2004, you're stuck with ARM pensions. You were not allowed to change. The transfer window opened just a few years ago, and what it says is that if you've decided that I'm not happy with ARM, I want to go somewhere else, I'm not happy with wherever, you have the option to transfer your assets from one PFA to another. You can do that maximum of once a year. It's not designed to be every year. So how do you make that decision? Back to your question and back to your conversation. How do you decide if my PFA is doing well or not, and should I transfer to another PFA? So it's back to those conversations. Are you getting the service you need? You know, who's helping you? This is your future we're talking about. Do you have a partner you trust for the long haul? And there's been a lot of focus on investment performance because that's how people tend to measure. But unfortunately, that conversation around investment performance has degenerated to just, what did you do last month? What did you do last month? Vast majority of savers are saving for 20 years, 30 years to retirement. So your thought should not be who did well last month. For many of you here, if I say, give me 10,000 naira, I'll double it for you next month, you will just raise your eyebrows and say, what are you planning to do? And so you shouldn't let your pension conversation be led by what happened last month. This is a decision you're making for the long haul. So you want to be looking at long-term data and long-term trends. And what are they doing in terms of risk? Because when you talk about investment, investment is just taking risk. So the highest return is not necessarily the best for you. It might be someone taking a whole lot of risk for your investment, and you don't necessarily want that. So you want a healthy balance between risk and return and long-term thinking.
If I do this pension, it's okay, my 10 most trusted staff, let me put this money, and what they decide to leave, they can leave, and then I just hand over.
Yes, so they should notify their PFA that they're not working for you anymore. They should notify their PFA that this is who my new employer is, because the new employer should continue saving for them. So for you as an employer, you don't have any obligations beyond making sure that you pay their contributions while they work for you. And that's the end. So you have the same way with their salary, you have their bank account number. Once they go, you stop paying into their bank. You don't have to do anything beyond that.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have Waike has asked about the one-man business. I know she has 10 staff, but you know, we have some people that have 3 staff today and then another. So you're fledgling business and you're wondering, should I wait until my business is much more established before I start that? Or it does not matter. The moment I'm able to employ 3 or 4 people, no matter the state of my business, I should.
You know, it's a matter of law. This was an act that was passed by the National Assembly. By law, if you have 3 employees, you should be doing this. And if you are not, you are violating the law.
Wow. So somebody who has not done it, can they start and would they have to pay their arrears or they have to just start from where they start?
I think you should start from where you were. I think it's a matter of employee rights as well, you know, but you start first and then you start having this conversation later. Because if I have been working for you for 7 years and I then find out that there's something you should have been doing for me for the last 7 years you didn't do, it's very likely that the employees themselves would demand this from their employers. So it's not really about, you know, ARM going to fight you for their arrears. It's really something you owe your staff that you should do for them, you know.
Yeah, so how can people reach ARM if they need
so many different ways. Our website is armpension.com. We have a chatbot called Jane. She's on WhatsApp, on Telegram. ARM Engage is the app. It's on the Apple iOS Store and the Google Play Store. You can call us, call ARM.
Oh, the numbers are on the screen.
The numbers on the screen right now.
You can take a shot of it
But
right
you
now.
know, Nigerians would like to say, where's your building? I don't want all these online things.
We have
that
a
can
branch
hold.
in every state of the
Okay.
Federation, all 36 states
How many
and
years?
the FCT. ARM was one of the first 7 pension fund administrators that were licensed. In 2004, when the scheme started, there were 7 PFAs. Today, we have over 20. So we've been there since 2004, even before then. Our head office is in Ikoyi, 5 Mekun.
Government. Is
I
it
know it's
government
long
or
before-
non-government?
Completely, the pension scheme is completely outside of the government. So all of the operators
That's what makes
are
it
not-
even more fearful.
No.
All right, we have to.
No, I think it makes
It
it
was
more
the government
things.
that was running it before the act
Yeah.
when we said we used to see people
Yeah.
crying. At the end of the day, whether things are done by the government or the private sector, we should ensure that things are done right.
Yeah, it's the
This
efficiency.
scheme is one of the success stories
Thank
of
you
Nigeria's
very,
transition to
very,
democracy.
very much for sharing this with us. We appreciate it. All right.